Sam, this is a huge blow for Arteta's side. He's mentioned Saka's impact there. The winger has only missed 10 of Arsenal's 172 games in all competitions since the start of the 21-22 season. Shows his importance, and therefore it begs the question, how much will they miss him?
It's a massive blow. I was there at Crystal Palace on Saturday, and normally Bukayo Saka goes down. He gets these knocks and bruises. He's a one-on-one player. And normally he gets back up. But when he came off so quickly, it was such a big thing for Arsenal. All you have to do is look at how they're reliant on him, because these are the number of minutes since Saka's first full season at Arsenal in terms of the front three players. As you can see, he's miles ahead in terms of minutes, even from the like of Gabriel Martinelli, who was also in Mikel Arteta's first Arsenal squad since he took over in 2019. Then you've got the likes of Kai Havertz, Gabriel Jesus. They're nowhere near the numbers that Saka has had to play. So it's, as you say, 10 games missing in the last 3 seasons in all competitions. Arsenal aren't used to being without Bukayo Saka. So it's going to be a real challenge for Arteta. And he said they're going to have to be creative. They're going to have to sort of, rise over the hill of missing without one of their key players, not just this season, but in the last few years.
And Arsenal do tend to favour attacking down the right-hand side, which is where he occupies. So will Arteta have to adapt his style of play here then?
Yeah, this is a massive, massive deal for Arsenal, because this 46% here is the most reliant any Premier League team is down one side this season. So, you can see it as two ways. Arsenal like attacking down there. Therefore, their best player on that flank is missing, so they're going to be weakened. However, Mikel Arteta might see this one as a positive situation, because look at this side. It's not as strong, it's not as dangerous. The bigger the arrow on this graphic, the more dangerous the attacks are. So maybe it might be a challenge for Mikel Arteta to then get this side of the pitch a lot more dangerous, as well as the middle side, as well as having to find solutions on that right-hand side. Maybe Arsenal could be a more all-rounded side with, after this period where Saka is out. But obviously it's such a huge blow, because it's not just Saka on that side, it's Martin Ødegaard, and the two have such a good relationship. Ødegaard now has to find those new combinations with new players in order to get Arsenal more points, more wins, and close to Liverpool at the top of the Premier League table. OK, so the big question is who replaces Saka? Talk us through the options. Well, the most obvious candidate is the person who actually replaced Saka on the right wing at Crystal Palace on Saturday. That is Gabriel Martinelli on the far side there. He got a goal and assist after moving on to that right-hand side on Saturday against Crystal Palace. But you can see it's not that many minutes, 261 minutes on that right-hand side, compared to so many more as a left winger. And, the other option as well is Gabriel Jesus. He has also played a fair few minutes on the right wing, not just for Arsenal, but for Manchester City and Pep Guardiola beforehand. However, the problem you have with Gabriel Jesus is that he is in great form at the moment as a centre-forward. He's got 5 goals in his last 2 games, obviously both against Crystal Palace, of course. Therefore, do you want to move him out of this area to sort of fill another hole when you've got him playing so well here? It's another dilemma. Now, Mikel Arteta also gave 2 other options in his press conference yesterday. These were Kai Havertz, who, can play on the right-hand side, but he's almost played as like a right forward for Arsenal since joining, rather than a right winger. So that's 2 very different roles, but it's an option. He says he's going to talk to players like Havertz to see if they can fill the gap. The other option here on the right-hand side is Leandro Trossard. Again, just like Martinelli, a left winger by trade, but a right winger. He's only played an hour of football as a right winger for Arsenal. All these graphics show the stats that they've played for Arsenal under Mikel Arteta. So it's going to be a challenge. There's another option as well in Ethan Nwaneri, but he's 17 years old. Do you really want to play him out of position before you start playing regularly in position? It's a real dilemma for Mikel Arteta, this.
OK. And if you look at Arsenal's upcoming fixtures, there are some big games that Saka could well miss here, including, of course, the North London derby next month.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's actually quite similar to Manchester City. It starts easier in terms of, they've got Ipswich and then Brentford in the next 2 games, but then it gets a lot harder. In the fact they've got to go to Brighton. Remember, they pinched a draw at the Emirates Stadium in August, so that's going to be a really difficult game for Arsenal. I think they know that one. Then it comes the big one, the North London derby at home to Tottenham, which also comes 3 days before a game against Aston Villa. Not an easy game, that one either. So yeah, Saka is probably almost guaranteed to miss these games now, because we're expecting him to miss at least 6 weeks, possibly even longer than that. So yeah, it's going to be a big time for Arsenal. This, can Mikel Arteta not just find the solutions, but find them in time for these big games?
Nottingham Forest defender Ola Aina has labelled Bukayo Saka as the best player in the Premier League, citing the Arsenal winger's consistency and game-changing performances. Speaking on the Filthy Fellas podcast, Aina, who faced Saka twice last season, reflected on the challenge of trying to stop the 23-year-old. "Every game he just does it," Aina said. "Let's be honest here, bro, Saka is scoring, he's doing a mad thing." Aina's encounters with Saka left a lasting impression. Tasked with marking the Arsenal star while playing out a position at left-back, the former Chelsea academy player saw Saka score in both matches, including a stunning solo effort in the season opener. Despite Aina's best efforts, Saka proved impossible to contain. Saka's influence on Arsenal this season has been immense. With 5 goals and 10 assists in the Premier League and standout performances in the Champions League, he has been instrumental in the Gunners' success. His ability to deliver consistently has made him a vital figure in Mikel Arteta's setup and a nightmare for defenders across the league. Aina's praise places Saka above some of the Premier League's biggest names. "Rodri is sick, he makes City tick, but Saka just does it every game," Aina explained. While also acknowledging the brilliance of players like Mohamed Salah, Aina insisted Saka's consistency and impact set him apart. Saka's absence due to a hamstring injury suffered during Arsenal's 5-1 win over Crystal Palace has left a significant gap in the team. Arteta has described the injury as not looking good, leaving Arsenal's attack reliant on other forwards like Gabriel, Martinelli and Leandro Trossard in the coming weeks. For Aina, Saka's ability to perform at such a high level every week is what elevates him above the rest. "That's one player when I came off the pitch at the Emirates I had to respect it," he said. As Saka works on his recovery, Aina's words highlight the respect the Arsenal winger commands across the league. Whether through dazzling runs, decisive goals, or unmatched consistency, Saka has earned his place among the Premier League's elite and, in Aina's eyes, right at the very top. Arsenal fans should not expect Ethan Nwaneri to start Premier League matches week in week out in the wake of Bukayo Saka's injury, Gunners expert Charles Watts has warned. Mikel Arteta's side have been rocked by the news that Saka will spend many weeks on the sidelines with the serious hamstring problem he sustained in the first half of Saturday's 5-1 thrashing of Crystal Palace. As Fabio Vieira and Reece Nelson were both loaned out in the summer, Arsenal are short of genuine right-wing cover for Saka, who is not expected to play again until late February or early March, but the embryonic Nwaneri is a possible solution. The 2007-born starlet is yet to start a Premier League game, though, and speaking to Sports Mole, Watts highlighted Nwaneri's recent mediocre cameos against Everton and Crystal Palace as an eye-opener to Arsenal fans crying out for the 17-year-old to come into the first starting 11. "I think he'll do what's best for the long term," Watts said when asked whether Nwaneri could be pressed into action while Saka is absent. "I think we'll see more minutes from him. I think it's been interesting watching Nwaneri with his substitute appearance against Everton and then the start in the EFL Cup game against Palace. When he got taken off at half-time, he really did struggle in those 2 games. In terms of where he should be on the pitch, his positioning, he did drift out to the right a lot, certainly for the Cup game as well. And that left a big gaping hole. And I wasn't surprised when he didn't come out for the second half. But I think for him, that'll be a really key part of his development. And he needs to know at 17, it's not all highs. You're going to have to deal with lows, and I think those lows are almost as important to any player's development at that age than the highs are. We will see him play more minutes. But I think those 2 games, those 2 appearances, certainly a bit of an eye-opener to some Arsenal fans that he is just still a 17-year-old kid. And it is very, very important to remember that. 2 years on from becoming the youngest player to play in the Premier League at 15 years and 181 days old, Nwaneri has had a breakthrough campaign in 2024-25, netting 4 goals and excelling in the EFL Cup in particular. The teenager capped off Arsenal's 3-0 fourth-round win at Preston North End by cutting inside from the right and bending a brilliant left-footed curler into the far corner, a carbon copy of the finish that Saka produced on the opening day of last season against Nottingham Forest.